In this video, I'll show you how to draft a 6-section crown with a visor. This draft yields two traditional hats, a baseball cap and a newsboy cap, or sometimes called a flat or applejack cap. But feel free to experiment with this technique to develop alternate hat shapes. Baseball caps have 6 sections on the crown and a forward-facing visor. You can have a full back, or like this example, a cutout that allows for an adjustable strap or a ponytail holder. Baseball caps can be made from any sturdy cotton or bottom weight fabric. Newsboy caps have an exaggerated 6-section crown and a forward-facing visor. They rest on the head with a band that connects the crown to the visor. They can be made from a variety of fabrics and the crown can be as large as you want. The supplies needed for this pattern are paper, a view-through ruler, a measuring tape, non-retractable, a push pin, paper scissors. You should be drafting in a mechanical pencil, an eraser, a scrap of manila folder or oak tag or cardstock will work, the downloadable 60-degree section template. I have glued this to some oak tag for stability, a fraction to decimal conversion chart, which again will be linked down below, and I'll be doing my demonstrations in marker so you can see what I'm doing, but always draft a mechanical pencil for accuracy. First, we need a couple of measurements. With the tape measure, measure around the head for your head size. Place the tape around the top of your ears or where you want the cap to sit on your head. Add ease to the measurement. My measurement was 20.5 inches, so I added 1/2 inch ease to compensate for hair and hat construction. You can add as much or as little ease as you wish. You can see there is wiggle room in the measurement because I have added ease. Next, we need a measurement from the approximate center of the top of the head to where we want the hat to end. For the baseball cap I'm drafting, the hat ends above the ear at 5.5 inches. To this measurement, I'm going to add a little lengthwise ease just so the cap isn't too snug against the head. You can add as much or as little as you want. For the newsboy, we are going to exaggerate the measurement. For example, I measured to 7 inches and pushed the measurement up to show how the crown will hang over the band when the hat is worn. In my pattern sample instructions, I use 9 inches as my measurement, which will include the 1-inch band. These are the measurements I'll be using for the baseball cap. My head size is 21 inches. From the top of the head to where I want the cap to end is 6 inches. For the newsboy, my head size is 21 inches. From the top of the head to where I want the hat to end on the head, including the band, is 9 inches. The shape of the pattern can be thought of as a shallow curve for the baseball cap and a deep curve for the newsboy cap. This will make more sense when we draft the pattern. For either draft, start with a straight line in the middle of the paper. Place the 60-degree template in the center of the line, matching the top and bottom notches, and mark the other notches as indicated. With a ruler, connect the notches through the center. You now have 6 sections for your pattern. For the baseball cap, draw a straight line on the scrap of oak tag. On one end of the line, make a mark. For my sample, my top of the head to where the hat ends measurement is 6 inches. From the mark on the line, measure this distance and mark. With a push pin, make a small hole on one end and another larger hole on the other end. To save some paper and show you the difference between the patterns, I'm going to use one half of the draft for the baseball cap and the other half for the Newsboy. Place the pushpin in the center of the draft. Place your pencil in the bigger hole and draw the circle, or in my case, the half circle. We'll be focusing on the center section for the draft, but you have 3 opportunities to redraft if you don't like the first shape. Measure the section's arc from one line to the other. You can use your decimal chart to record the measurement if you don't want to work in fractions. My section arc measures 6 3/8 inches. We multiply this by 6 because we're constructing a 6-section crown. This equals 38 1/4. My head size plus ease is 21 inches. Subtract the head size from the arc total. My measurement is 17 1/4. Now divide this amount by 6 to determine the measurement we need to subtract from the arc. My amount is 2 7/8. We now need to remove 2 7/8 from the section arc to get the measurement we need to fit our head, which is 21 inches. On a scrap of paper, measure the amount you need to take out. In this case, 2 7/8. Cut the strip on the measurement and fold this piece of paper in half. We fold in half so we can take out the measurement from both sides of the arc, not just one. If we took out the measurement from just one side, the draft would be lopsided. On one side of the arc, take out the folded measurement and make a mark. Repeat for the other side. The measurement in between the marks should be the measurement we need to draft the rest of the hat. Measure the space in between the marks. My new arc measurement is 3.5 inches. If we multiply this by 6, we get exactly 21 inches. Now we can draft the hat between these marks. Fold the draft in half on the arc, matching the marks. So you can see the fold, I'm going to draw it in. For a baseball cap shape that fits against the head, you want to keep the seam shape as parallel to the fold as possible. If you angle it out, you'll get a shape that sticks away from the head. Draw a line roughly parallel to the fold until it hits the section line. At the intersection, draw a smooth, shallow curve connecting the two. Now cut out the whole section. If after testing this shape it's not what you want, you have 2 other sections to work with. Save your measurement paper and redraft the shape as you desire. Now fold on the center fold line. Cut the new line out following the curve you blended. Also cut out the bottom arc. You now have a pattern piece for your baseball cap. The shape of the piece is narrow to the point, and if we lay the pattern over the finished hat, you can see it follows the lines. For this step, I'm going to tape down the section so it doesn't move. Lay a piece of paper over the draft. I'm taping that down as well. Carefully trace the pattern onto the paper. Take your time and mark the fold. For a baseball hat's construction, you'll use 1/4-inch seam allowance because the seams get covered in bias. Find the measurement for your seam allowance on the ruler and simply outline the shape of the pattern at that measurement. Label the pattern as indicated, noting that for this version of a baseball cap, you'll cut 6 pieces from this pattern. If you want a ponytail holder or adjustable strap, you'll need to draft a separate pattern piece. Once again, lay a piece of paper over the draft and trace the piece. On one side, as far up from the arc as you want, draw a curve to the arc. Keep the intersections of the seam and arc as small 90-degree angles. These will prevent points from being formed on the pattern. Add seam allowance, again 1/4 of an inch. I'll show the labeling of this piece later in the video. For the Newsboy, I'll be working on the other side of the draft. We'll be working with a different measurement from the top down, in this case 9 inches. On the Newsboy cap, the crown is attached to a band that connects to the visor. The band width in this case is 1 inch. It should be subtracted from the top down measurement. This is what allows the hat to rest on the head. For the Newsboy measurements, my head size plus ease equals 21 inches. My top to bottom measurement is 9 inches minus 1 inch for the band width, which equals 8 inches. On the scrap of oak tag, measure out the distance, in this case 8 inches, from the first mark. Make a mark at this new measurement. Make a hole at this new measurement mark, big enough for your pencil. Again, I'll be working on the center section. Place the push pin in the center of the draft and draw the circle, or in my case, the half circle. You can see on this half of the draft how much deeper and bigger the circle is than the baseball cap. Just like the baseball cap, measure the arc section. For the Newsboy, my head size plus ease is 21, my top to bottom measurement is 8, and my band equals 1 inch. My new arc measurement equals 8 7/16. Multiply this measurement by 6 to get 50 and 5/8. From this measurement, subtract the head size plus ease measurement. We get 29 and 5/8. 29 and 5/8 divided by 6 equals 4 and 15/16. On a scrap of paper, just like the baseball hat, measure out the new arc measurement, cut it, and fold it in half. From the lines on the section along the arc, make marks at the measurement of the folded paper. Measure this new arc. For me, it's 3.5. Multiply this measurement by 6 to get your head size, plus ease, which in my case is 21 inches. Fold the section in half and mark the center. For the baseball cap, we wanted the shape as parallel to the fold as possible. For the Newsboy, we want an obvious angle. Starting at the mark on the arc, draw a line that angles away from the fold. You can go down as far as you like, but do stay above the arc. If after testing you don't like this shape, you have two other sections to work with. Once again, at the intersection, draw a smooth curve connecting the two lines. Cut out the section and fold it in half. Cut out the new pattern shape on the line and the arc. Notice how much fuller the shape is compared to the baseball cap. The widest part is where the crown will fold over on the head. You can see on the finished hat that the paper pattern piece reflects the shape of the crown. Once again, trace the pattern piece and add seam allowance. This pattern can be regular sewing seam allowance, in this case 3/8 of an inch. Label the pattern piece cut 6 of both the fashion fabric and the lining. For the band, draw 2 parallel lines 1 inch away from each other. Make sure they're longer than you need so you have plenty of room to work. From those lines, draw a line perpendicular on one end. Measure out the distance you need for the head size measurement plus ease and draw another termination line at the measurement. Add seam allowance all the way around the band, in this case 3/8 of an inch. Label as indicated. You're going to cut 2 of fashion fabric and 2 of interfacing. When drafting a visor, you can design how you want the visor to rest on the face. If you keep the line that connects the visor to the crown straight, the visor will lie flat against the face. If you draft a shallow curve, it will be slightly out at an angle from the face. And if you draft a deep curve, the visor will stick out from the face parallel to the floor. You can experiment with different visor curves to get the look that you want for the hat you're designing. For this one, I'm going with a deep curve. You can buy pre-made visor boards. I'll link a supplier in the comments. I'm not affiliated with the supplier in any way, I've just bought from them. Visor boards are made of a plastic you can sew through. They are a predetermined shape that stick out from the forehead with a deep curve. For this video, I'm showing you how to make your own visor board pattern, and in a later video, I'll show you how to construct it. If you have to make a lot of visors but you don't want to buy boards, you can always just buy one and use it as a template to make your own. To draft a visor, start with a straight horizontal line. In the middle of the line, draw a perpendicular line. If you have the basic head size template, you can just use the curve of the side as a general shape for the visor curve. You can adjust the shape as needed for your specific design, but it's a good place to start if you don't know where to start your curve. You can see here how close the curve is to the template that has been pre-purchased. Note that it's not exactly the same, but it's a good starting off point if you're unsure of where to go when drafting a visor. The length of the visor is your choice, but a general rule I follow is to measure 2 sections and add 1 inch. This gives you a little room past the visor section for a more professional look. This sample uses the same measurements I'm using for this demonstration video. So in this case, I'm showing you where to measure on the hat. You'd measure that arc on your pattern piece. My patterned arc section equals 3.5 inches. We multiply this by 2 to get 7 inches. Then I'm going to add 1 inch to this, which gives us a little pass to the sections as the visor is sewn on. So 7 plus 1 equals 8. 8 inches is where I start drafting my visor. Depending on how I change the curve, it could lengthen or shorten it just slightly. Measure half of the measurement, in this case 8 inches, from the cross mark in the center of the side of the head size template. I am making a mark at 4 inches, which is half of my visor measurement. Place the template on the center line with the side you marked facing down, and slide the template until the mark hits the horizontal line. Draw half of the curve. Be sure to keep the template centered vertically on the line with the notches. Now determine how long you want the visor to be. For this example, I'm starting at 3 inches. Measure down from the curve the measurement you want for the length of the visor. Using a very small 90-degree angle to the line, draw a smooth curve that connects down to the curve of the visor that attaches to the head size line. If we compare this to the visor board template, we see that the curve is not as deep. From this point, you can adjust the curve up or down depending on the design. Remember to redraft the length to compensate for any measurements. Here, I'm making the curve just slightly deeper. Again, from a slight 90-degree angle, reblend to the end of the visor measurement. From this new measurement, I'm going to measure up the length I want, which is 3 inches, and again, drawing a smooth curve down to the point at which the head size line connects. These need to be just small 90-degree angles so you avoid any points or bumps. Now, we're going to test the shape. Using a scrap of paper, trace out one of the curve shapes that you've drawn. In this case, I'm going to start with the deeper curve. Fold the paper in half and cut the visor shape out. Now you can test this shape against your head, in this case, my mannequin's head. You can see in this case that the curve is pretty good and it's giving me the shape and angle off the forehead that I want. I'm going to trace out the original lines I drew and test that too. When I test this shape against the forehead on my mannequin, I'm not very happy with it. I think the other curve I drafted is much better and works for the design that I want. That's not to say that this isn't a good design, it's just not what I want for this cap. I prefer the curve of the original visor, but I do think it needs to be a little shorter. From a 90-degree angle at the center, I'm going to cut a smooth curve to the edge. Now, I have the visor I want. When you're determining your visor shape, just keep auditioning paper until you get the shape that you want. Because of the construction technique for this particular visor, you do not need to add seam allowance to the pattern piece. Be sure to label your piece so you know what pattern it goes to. For the Newsboy, I just traced the visor board template and again, no seam allowance. For a baseball cap without an adjustable strap or ponytail holder in the back, you're going to cut 6 of the crown. For a baseball cap with a ponytail holder, you'll cut 4 of the main piece and 2 of the back piece. For the Newsboy, it's 6 of the crown for both the fabric and lining and 2 of the band in fabric and interfacing. The visors for this pattern are all cut from squares of fabric rather than pattern pieces specifically. It's easier to construct that way. In the next video, I'll be demonstrating the construction of the Newsboy cap. I will not be demonstrating the baseball cap. I will link a video from another user on YouTube who shows you a more professional way to sew a baseball cap. That's all for this video. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below. I hope you've enjoyed this video and look forward to more hat making videos soon.